Hi, everyone. Welcome to Healing from the Inside Out. I am Andra Annette, and I am here with Ashley Holmes today, a special guest. Now, Ashley is a fertility coach, a holistic fertility coach. She's a yoga and meditation teacher, and she really, with a natural approach and a very supportive approach, she helps empower women on their fertility journey. She teaches them to cultivate confidence and really helps them break through those mental barriers. She integrates Ayurvedic medicine and chakra balancing and other, natural services to really help them achieve optimal health and natural conception. So I saw a post that Ashley had made inside of Brains magazine. I read her article. I actually tagged her article because I loved what she wrote. So please help me welcome Ashley Holmes. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. And I wish I would have met you 30, 40 years ago when I was on that journey. So, can you tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to take this path? Because fertility, wow, I'm sure there's many women, especially women with thyroid issues, that struggle with this on a regular basis.
I feel like my path chose me, and so I quote unquote say that I did it the hard way and the easy way. And so I was blessed with twins and used a fertility clinic over a decade ago, but at the same time, it wasn't a path I wanted to go down again. I didn't have any answers for my unexplained infertility, and I walked away thinking that I couldn't conceive on my own, and that simply wasn't the truth. And when I landed on my yoga mat and began to embody these ancient teachings and this ancient wisdom, everything shifted for me and I underwent a massive transformation that enabled me to be able to conceive naturally, quickly, holistically, and in a very short time frame comparatively. And so that is what I offer to women because I don't feel that we are necessarily empowered on our journeys. And so many women who are past those years have said to me, I wish I knew you 20 years ago, when I was in those shoes then. And this is a worldwide issue and affects 1 in 6 couples. And that is far too many as far as I'm concerned.
I absolutely agree with you. And I know it is a big part of thyroid disease. So, and there are 40 million people in America suffering with thyroid disease, and half of them are undiagnosed. So, a lot of people might present with fertility issues and still never get that diagnosis of thyroid that can be managed, or PCOS, or something else that's going on in their body that can be managed. And then the stress and the overwhelm, because for women, we're taught that we have to get married, we have to have children, we have to be these caretakers. So hearing that we might not be able to be a mother is devastating and makes us feel broken in some way, I think. And I think that extra stress only adds insult to injury. It makes it even harder to conceive, right? So what have you found that really helps make that magic where people start saying, okay, I can do this. It's, and just relax and manage their stress and embrace that confidence that you're helping them cultivate. And that self-love, of course, it all comes back to self-love.
Yes. It really is a journey inward and a deep inner knowing of yourself and beginning to recognize those signs and signals that we're given on a daily basis that we may not necessarily pay attention to or give that much credit to. But when you're trying to conceive, you do start to notice and track all of these things, and they do make a huge difference on your fertility journey. Your sleep and your nutrition and your stress and your energy, these begin to have a massive impact on you, especially the longer that you're on this path. And so it really is so important to work with the nervous system and to come into rest and digest mode and to step out of fight or flight mode and to have a toolbox of resources at your disposal that you can tap into because this is not a one and done thing. as much as we wish it would be. And so, really getting to understand and know yourself and what you can do to create balance and harmony and equilibrium in your system versus, furthering the cycle of imbalances and not being course correcting them in a due course in a quick time frame, right? Because often we don't pay attention until, you know, our body is giving us these huge massive signals or the doctor is telling us something. And so it's really being able to know that for yourself and be able to go from there.
So I think this is difficult for a lot of people, especially in today's society. Many people are checked out of self and looking to others for those answers on a regular basis because society perpetuates that we're not enough. And this just adds insult again to injury because women feel like if I can't have children, just like women that have these hysterectomies and things like that, it does make them feel like less than a woman, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't. So
No,
that's the message I want to tell you. So it shouldn't. So because you're so much more than just that. But on what are there consistent patterns that you find with people that because I help people with digestive, weight loss, right, and thyroid. I am that thyroid. And I find that it is so much more the lack of belief in themselves and that self-awareness that they do keep looking out and they don't realize that all those answers are already in them if they slow down and listen to them, like you so eloquently said. So is there a pattern that you see consistently in these women?
I think that for every woman on this path, their trust and belief in themselves and their bodies and what it's capable of is really tested. And it's really building that resilience of, I can do this despite the fact that I haven't been shown or proven that just yet. And so that really needs to be stronger than the results that you've had so far. And so it's really working with yourself and looking at that inner dialogue and that conversation that you're having on a day in and day out basis. Because for most of us, that is not positive, it's quite negative. And to begin to change the conversation and begin to have, not just the big goal of the baby, because for lots of us that feels unattainable or out of reach in the present moment, but to have, tiny micro releases of dopamine that are successful, of food tasting better and having more energy and sleeping better, and all of these things that we don't give that much credit to really do impact our health and well-being. And that will get us to the goal in the long run. But most of us didn't get here overnight. And so this isn't a quick fix. It's not, a band-aid, but this does serve you for the rest of your life to understand your inborn constitution, which Ayurveda offers, so that you know what works best for you and for your body. And that includes breath work and yoga poses and food and all of these things that are really going to work best for you. And so, with that knowledge and understanding, then this isn't just for your fertility journey. This really sets you up for a foundational, successful life, because we're always going to meet obstacles and bump up against things,
Mm.
but then we're resourced enough to be able to navigate those with ease and grace.
You sound like me, but on a fertility journey instead of what I do, because I can say that everything you just said is 100% correct. And when you tell people basic things like sleeping and drinking the water and the things that their body needs, they look at you like it has to be more. But those basics, those are grounded in who we are as people, things that we need, like that quality nutrition, and to really calm our nervous systems, not to be in the fight and flight all the time, right? So because it does cause hormonal imbalances and so much more in our bodies. And people people think it just can't be those little things, but all those little things add up to where we are right now. So nobody wakes up one morning 100 pounds overweight. Nobody wakes up one morning and with a diagnosis of an autoimmune disease. There were definite signs in their body that tracks telling you, okay, something's wrong, something wrong. Hello, I'm over here, something's wrong. And you just weren't paying attention because we get busy, we get away from day to day. Maybe we have other things, other family members in our lives that we're taking care of, we're looking for careers. And then when we do decide, okay, it's time, I want to be a mom, and it just doesn't happen, we're bewildered, right? I think it's a really tough thing that's going on. I think that it's men and women, right? And post-COVID, COVID really had a major impact on the digestive system, which does impact the thyroid. So there's more thyroid disease now post-COVID than before. And I know
Same
that
with infertility.
yes, right. So it's causing all those infertilities, and they're not getting those answers. So what I love that you advocate for the mind body wellness. But what I really hope that we can leave this audience with is to advocate for themselves, because there are women who are very in tune with their body, and they're not getting pregnant. And sometimes there is something underlying going on, like the PCOS or a thyroid disorder that's really out of control, right? And they're going to the doctors and they're not getting those answers. The doctors are dismissing them and telling them they fall within normal range, right? And they're not doing the right tests. So, and then they figure the doctor has to know, so they lose a little bit more of their confidence that was already starting to fail. So, what would you tell people in that situation?
I think that it's important for us to always come back to we know our bodies best, we know our cycle best. We know when we had our birth cycle, we've been there for every cycle that we've ever had. And so it means that we need to be paying attention and to stop outsourcing everything and start to look inward and to pay attention on a really deep inner level, because we have been conditioned and programmed to, if something is quote unquote wrong, go to the doctor and they will fix you. That's why I ended up at the fertility clinic. And yes, I wouldn't have twins to this day if it had not been for that experience. But at the same time, I wasn't empowered. I didn't have answers. I was stressed to the max, and that carried through from the whole pregnancy through postpartum, all of it, being deemed high risk, having an emergency C-section, having a harder postpartum period, all of that, the whole mindset that went from start to finish of that was the same. Whereas when I was empowered with what my body was capable of, I could conceive naturally. I went hiking when my water broke and had a VBAC and was back at Baby and Me Yoga 10 days later. Night and day difference. I was deemed geriatric at the time, but it proved to me how much I wasn't tapping into and accessing what I was capable of.
I think that's an amazing story, and I'm so proud of you for like sharing that and helping other women do this, because it's a very touchy subject, I think, for women. I think that women feel like they're a little less of a woman when it comes to fertility. Men too. I think it absolutely
Definitely.
impacts men on a very large scale, and I think even when we approach fertility, when we do go looking for answers, they tend to think the problem's more with the woman than with the man, right? And I don't know if that's a finance thing, because it's a much simpler test for the man than it is to put the woman through all those battery of tests. But that's usually the route. They don't just, check the man's sperm, see if it's, he's got swimmers or what. They put the woman through all these other tests, and I think it's very unfortunate how people are pushed through the system, right? And that something as beautiful, even the fertility experience that you experience, something as beautiful as trying to conceive in a motherhood becomes this stress.
Yes. And none of us envision it that way. We all are sort of raised, or at least my generation was, that you will get pregnant at the drop of a hat. And so when you actually stop and try, and this isn't easy, and this is taking a very long time, wait a minute, what's wrong? What's going on? This is just meant to happen. And, we've been fed a lot of things and a lot of misinformation for a long time. And so there really needs to be a lot more awareness around, what we really want to be drawing into our lives and how we want to cultivate that. Because had I known, that perhaps I shouldn't have been on birth control for decades before trying to conceive,
Hmm.
then, all of these things are just done because we think it's the quote unquote right thing to do. And perhaps it was at that time, but does that serve us in the long run? No.
No,
And when my twins were 1 year old, I went off birth control because I was like, why am I putting this into my body when I couldn't get pregnant in the first place? That was my mindset. So I just stopped. And I didn't get pregnant for years until I landed on my yoga mat and began to have a mind body spirit connection for one, to listen to my body, to tune into my body, and to work with my nervous system and to begin to understand what real nourishment was because I was following fads and diets and trends that aren't healthy.
they're not. They perpetuate sickness, not wellness. And I'm glad to hear it from someone else that actually is in health, because everywhere you look, they're spreading misinformation, and unfortunately, so many people are looking for answers, but they're they're not finding those good answers out there, and it makes them feel broken, regardless of what they're trying to do. People that are trying to grow a business, people that are trying to get pregnant, people that are trying to lose weight. It doesn't matter where they are in that life, but when you extend your hand for help and you don't get it, it does make you shy away from seeking help again, right? And unfortunately, there are people out there that really are geared towards giving them those answers. So I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing. I can see that your heart and everything is in the right place and you really care about what you do. So if you can tell women one thing that you think would help them on this journey, well, what do you think that would be?
I think that you have to trust yourself and you have to be able to look within because everything you have lies within you, not outside of you. And I think also at the same time, it can be hard to look at our shadows. It can be hard to navigate this fertility journey and all the emotions that come alongside with it because we're not taught how to deal with shame and guilt and fear and anger and disappointment and all of these energetically heavy emotions. And so, having someone to support you and to regulate your nervous system and to be there alongside of you, who's not your partner because they're in it with you, is really, really beneficial and will help you in the long run.
That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much. So if someone was looking for your help, where exactly could they find you?
You can join my Holistic Fertility Coach Facebook group. It is a free community for you to land in and a safe, sacred space to be and to ask questions and to be in like-minded community. And I feel like it's so important to find your tribe for wherever you are in life and to know that you're not alone on this journey because everybody who's going through it thinks that no one else is experiencing this. No one understands me, and it's just me against the world type of thing. And to realize that that's not true, and that there's plenty of support available to you, especially in this day and age.
Thank you so much. So we're going to close out this show. I want to thank our special guest, Ashley Holmes, and I think that she offered so many valuable insights for you ladies. So if you're looking for Ashley, you can find her on Facebook and have a great night.